I was more excited to watch The Ring of Power, but initial reactions for the Hot D episode 1, kind of like on the fence now. It's doing something special.
Welcome to another episode of Decogged Reviews. Today we're going to take a look at the new Ring of Power trailer. I guess it's the final trailer before the show comes out in September 2nd, I think, if I remember correctly, on Amazon Prime. What are your thoughts since Hot D is coming out as well?
Yeah, Hot D. Yeah. We have to give this one an acronym.
Like, which one are you more excited to watch?
I was more excited to watch The Ring of Power.
Yeah.
Because I'm such a huge Lord of the Rings fan.
Yeah.
But after all the initial reactions for the Hot D episode 1, I don't know, I'm kind of like on the fence now because I feel like, oh, maybe Hot D is actually it's doing something special. But... Yeah,
that's what so I started to notice that, not because from people's comments online, but I just from because we did a trailer review for one of them. I noticed that there's a lot more comments recently on
Hot D.
On Hot D. And I was like, oh, maybe there's something maybe people are liking it.
People like our Hot D videos.
yeah. Exactly. We did a trailer reaction as well for Rings of Power before. So we'll see whether this trailer is good, and then maybe compare it to the one before, and see whether we're still excited to watch the series.
Yeah.
So let's get straight into it.
This is the trailer for the trailer.
Yeah.
The pre-trailer.
My brother gave his life hunting
It looks like
the enemy.
The Hobbit.
Yeah.
His task is now mine.
I thought that was Kristen Dunst. Can you see it?
Stand with me.
Oh, she looks
Ours was
badass.
no chance meeting.
Like Galadriel.
Yeah.
Not fate.
I think so. Do you think so? No.
I think it is, yeah.
Oh,
I think
okay.
it's like young Galadriel.
Nor destiny. Ours was the work of something greater.
I don't know about this kind of music, but this
Each
kind
of
us.
Everyone
I feel like it could just be an epic.
must decide who
like an orchestrated,
we shall
orchestrated
be.
soundtrack.
Yeah. This feels a bit
It doesn't
too
feel
poppy.
like Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
It feels like
I'm not the hero you seek.
Whatever it was you did, be free of it.
One day this will be
Oh, she
your
looks cool.
kingdom.
is she a female
Dwarf.
dwarf?
Yeah.
They finally showed one.
Yeah.
I think they showed one in The Hobbit though.
Oh yeah.
But that of faith.
I feel like you rarely see female dwarves. Other than in WoW. I mean, even in WoW.
One thing we can do, better than any creature in all Middle-earth, we stay true to each other. With our hearts even bigger in our feet.
Is that a Hobbit?
I can
Yeah.
survive this. You and I.
It seems a bit cheesy.
I don't know how I feel about this trailer so far.
Yeah.
No, we keep moving.
Why do you keep fighting?
There is
Oh.
a tempest in me.
You have fought long enough, Galadriel. Put up your sword.
Without it, what am I to be?
Yeah, you're right about the music.
Yeah, the music really puts me off.
Yeah. It doesn't feel like that. Yeah. The orchestra sort of that very epic, grand sort of
It doesn't feel timeless and
Yeah.
it doesn't have the same vibe as like Lord of the Rings does, right?
Yeah. Would you say what kind of music is it? It's like a mix of it's like a bit poppy,
It's kind of very like
mixed with a bit of the epic. Yeah, there is that epicness, but it feels like it's just it mixes a little bit with poppy vocals.
Yeah,
sort
like
of
the
thing.
singing.
Yeah,
and I don't know. It just didn't land for me because the Lord of the Rings soundtrack was so epic. You don't need to put anything to that, right? It's so good on its own.
Mm-hmm.
But they kind of they put the soundtrack kind of put me off. Like
Yeah.
it gives me a sense of what they're going for the series, and I'm like, nah, that's not what I want to see. You know, it's like they went from The Hobbit and they went backwards even further.
Yeah.
You know, in terms of like deviating from
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings. So
Yeah, I think I agree. I don't even know what the word is. I wouldn't say it's more commercial. It just doesn't
it feels
feel
very like I don't know. I wouldn't say generic. It feels kind of generic, I guess. Like you know, your generic teen. It feels like teen, like those teen drama. You know, fantastical dramas.
Yeah. It makes you feel like, I mean, I love Marvel movies, right? But it feels like it has that blockbuster feel, like that,
like cookie cutter.
Yeah.
Very
like
cut and
very
paste.
clean.
Yeah,
like
exactly. Yeah.
Whilst Lord of the Rings was very like, it was very just very
it had, like,
cinematic.
grand, cinematic and grand, and like
Yeah.
it had that epicness to it. And this,
Yeah.
it feels cool. Like it feels like they're trying to go for that epicness.
Yeah.
But the soundtrack actually just
Yeah.
completely. I wonder if someone re-edited this with just a different soundtrack, like how much cooler it would be.
Yeah, I think that would be cool. Yeah.
It's surprising that like the audio actually affects like
The whole
the
vibe.
visuals
Yeah.
so much, right?
Yeah.
And I guess people don't think about it so much because you're always like looking at the visuals. At least we're so accustomed to looking at something and being like, oh, like the CG and the lighting and the grading and all this.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I think the audio has probably
Just as much of an
yeah.
impact. Yeah. I mean, like sometimes when I look at my animated shots, it's like, you know, you animate it without, you know, because they haven't gone through sound yet, right? And then when they have like a music track behind it, you're like, wow, this is like 10 times better.
It's so much cooler.
Because I remember the shot that I animated was terrible.
Yeah.
Like, before the music, but the music covers it, and you know, it does affect a lot. For example, the shot. I don't know why, but this is what like I felt like Lord of the Rings wasn't like this.
Yeah,
this feels really
more like The Hobbit.
Yeah, it feels like this really contrasted, clean. It's like
Yeah.
almost too clean.
It's like the hyper saturation.
Yeah.
because it's just way too colorful.
Yeah.
You know, and Lord of the Rings felt like quite muted in the color palette. Like when I rewatch it, it's like tastefully saturated in the sense where it's like when they show like the where the Nazguls are, the castle, I forget the name, but and all that green and everything, you know, when they're climbing up the mountain and you can see the Nazgul palace, whatever, and then it's just like, oh yeah, that's tastefully saturated.
Yeah.
But it's not like just like a lot of different colors or just like too many colors.
Well, the greens I remember aren't like it's saturated, but I don't remember it being like so like hot, like this is like pretty. I feel like this is pretty strong, like to the extreme.
Yeah, to the extreme.
Yeah,
like the colors kind of blended a little bit nicer. Like it felt like it was part of the same color palette. This one looked like someone just eye dropped different colors into different parts.
Yeah,
and I mean maybe that's a cool look, but it's not Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It just doesn't feel like Lord of the Rings. It's like obviously I think it still looks, you know, it looks fine. It looks good.
Yeah, it looks
but
good
it just
doesn't
doesn't feel the same.
Yeah, and especially the cinematic, the what do you call it? Like the aerial shots from the environments.
This feels a bit more like it, just because it's like a bit more. It's a bit more muted. It's a bit more. You know, it's everything sort of fits together a little bit better.
I know, but this kind of looks like Game of Thrones as well.
Oh yeah, that's true.
So I think maybe in a weird way they overcompensated by trying to deviate. They're trying to not look like Hot D or Game of Thrones. Maybe in a weird way. Maybe they're like, oh, it looks too much Game of Thrones. Like we can't look like that because we're not that. You know, we're trying to be our own thing. So they're overcompensating by trying to make it look so different. Yeah. That it loses all its soul from what it was
before.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I could be just talking shit.
You know? No, I think but that's the thing. Like, I feel like I would say Game of Thrones was probably influenced by Lord of the Rings somewhat. I think a lot of things were influenced by Lord of the Rings. Right?
Yeah, like anything fantasy genre, like you can't get away from the Lord of the Rings. Like the influence it has.
And if I was like, you know, if I was the person on the show, I'd be like, "Yo, we came up with that like first.
Yeah,
I'm gonna triple down.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They should have just went pure
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings
Yeah.
aesthetic. But at the same time, from a marketing standpoint, maybe that has a dated look.
Yeah.
Like when younger generation who haven't really seen Lord of the Rings see this, they're like, "Ugh, it looks so old," or like
Yeah.
it doesn't look like exciting and like
Yeah.
it doesn't look like cool and clean and like it doesn't look modern. So maybe they try to modernize the whole thing, and it just went.
Have we gotten too old and we just like the old
Yeah,
stuff?
yeah. Maybe we're just too old now.
Because to me, I feel like this is too like. I know this is a TV show, so
Yeah, it looks
the
too,
budget is different. Like, but I feel like this looks it looks kind of fake, right?
Yeah.
Like-
Yeah. There's not enough grain or like I feel like it just looks too
Clean.
Yeah, it looks too polished.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like if you film something with like actual film cameras,
Yeah.
you have like lens flare and you'll have like like the contrast isn't so like crisp.
Yeah.
So, things are like a little bit like the contrast is not like fully dark to fully light.
Yeah,
there's,
yeah.
It's kind of sitting in the middle ranges a little bit more.
Yeah.
And then the colors are just like a little bit more muted.
Yeah.
But this just feels like everything's just like amped up.
Amped up, right? Yeah. Because I could see like all the streams like very clearly. I think maybe that's what's like
Yeah, it's
really
so
popping,
clean.
like,
yeah.
it's
and
popping
then, like
out.
the smoke,
Yeah.
the water mist, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
It's like so concisely placed.
At
It's
one
just,
spot.
like,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like,
yeah,
oh
yeah.
yeah, mist here. Let's put
Yeah.
put a little mist puff here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It seems like someone art directed the shit out of
Yeah.
this, which
Yeah.
it kind of goes against the vibe.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Because like I think that's a thing too. Like Lord of the Rings, it was like it wasn't everything was cheated but everything was filmed like well, right? And there's like that natural feel to it.
Yeah,
even just from the get-go.
That's a good word. Like it felt natural.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a. I think that's the word. Like Lord of the Rings felt natural. Like this
Yeah.
actually filmed by like somebody in the real world. Like just took
Yeah.
a camera and filmed it, and it felt like real in that
Yeah.
sense. But this feels like not real at all because it feels like
it feels CG.
It feels CG
Yeah.
because of all the hyper stylization.
Yeah. I mean,
It looks cool though. I mean, it looks cool, but yeah, again, I don't know. Just not
maybe
my,
it's just
not my
maybe we're
vibe.
just old.
Yeah, I think we're just
Yeah,
old, man.
we're just
We're just
old,
not with
yeah.
it, guys.
Yeah. We just like our own like our old stuff, you know? Like get off my porch. Yeah. This is cool. I don't think I think this part, but then something happens. I don't know what it is exactly. I feel like okay, you can tell me whether it's like whether you see the same thing, but I feel like this part looks pretty natural, but then once it gets to here, something changes for me where it doesn't feel like. I know this is very specific, but when I first looked at this shot, I was like, oh, this feels nice. This feels like nice and grand. It feels like something that could be shot. But then here onwards, it feels like it was a few things pieced together.
Yeah, and
but
I mean,
I could be wrong.
it could be like that.
Yeah.
Maybe like there's less going on in terms of like what they modified.
Yeah.
In the foreground, and the background could just be an extension of some sort.
Yeah. Because that, I mean, I guess you can talk about it a little bit, like since you work in like many departments. So for shots like this, like there's people who. Like it's called set extension, right?
Yeah.
So you basically piece like maybe different parts to sort of make up this whole landscape.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So it could be like just looking at this, like not knowing exactly what happened, but if I was to guess, I would say the front portion was shot on a certain plate, and then maybe they reviewed the footage, or they even intended to do this early on, but they were like, we want mountains in the back, but there's just no mountains in this location. But the stream here is perfect, and everything in this area is perfect. So maybe we'll shoot a plate with the mountains. Maybe we'll shoot a plate with the foreground.
Yeah.
And then we'll just comp it together. And then you can see like there's even almost a seam where it's like, okay, from here on, we'll put some like clouds. Yeah, we'll
to
like
blur the seams.
yeah, we'll put some clouds, and maybe there's a harsh line where the stream is that we can just like do a matte painting for the background or something. Or,
So maybe like here backwards it could be
Yeah, it
like
could
just yeah
anywhere from the mid-ground back.
Mid-ground back?
Be,
Yeah,
it
like
could
here.
be some sort of matte painting.
yeah
but-
interesting yeah
Yeah, and that's why the clouds are there. I feel like in a lot of ways, it's like, oh yeah, let's put some clouds here to
cover some stuff up.
cover some of the seams up, and
Yeah.
but it also looks cool at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
And that's kind of why you kind of get this, like it things don't feel like they belong so much because it's too art directed. It's like
Yeah.
it's too perfect, and I think whenever you get something that's too perfect, it just feels not real.
Yeah.
Like
You know
You
what?
know.
It's because like I think partially why it feels like, let's say even if this wasn't doctored, which obviously it is, like let's say like they just added the clouds, it's because like, you know, the clouds are just spread everywhere, but when they want your attention on something, it's like perfectly clear
yeah,
right in the middle here,
yeah,
right?
so it's too contrived.
Yeah,
in that sense.
yeah.
Yeah. It feels like
Yeah.
and I get it. Like
Yeah.
I did this too. Like
Yeah.
for like scenes on like No Way Home. Like I
Yeah.
was placing out clouds by hand
Yeah.
to art direct the feel of like
Yeah.
you know, you wanted to like separate the foreground, midground, background. So you're kind of placing out clouds to break up the depth.
Yeah.
So I get it. Like, you know, I was getting notes like, oh yeah, like we want to feel more depth. Like let's like make sure like we silhouette this like little hill and
Yeah.
it's cool. It looks cool, but
Yeah.
it just doesn't feel real. And
Yeah.
you know, and you wonder why. It's like, well, every single cloud is like hand placed.
Perfectly like, you know, yeah.
So, and it's also the lighting too. It's almost like game style lighting where it's like, hey, look here. You know? don't look at the foreground here. Like we want to see this area and look at the back.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
the
yeah.
light is hitting it in a way that it's like,
Yeah.
it just doesn't feel real, right?
Yeah. This looks awesome. Like I'm not sure like
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
I-
clearly a matte painting at the back though as well.
Yeah.
Like with
Oh,
those
yeah?
mountains.
here, yeah.
Yeah.
I think this looks cool.
Yeah. But you can see the seam in this one as well. It just
Yeah.
looks like, oh
yeah.
we reached the end of the you know, these mangrove or whatever.
Yeah.
This kind of like mud.
Let's add some
plains.
mountains.
Yeah. Let's put a lake and some mountains and
Yeah.
let's have a cool sky
And a
some
sunset.
cool lighting.
You know. yeah.
But the light just so happened to hit just the mountains.
Yeah.
But like nothing in the foreground is lit. It's
Yeah.
like, wait, is there like a really crazy tall mountain like
Yeah.
off screen on the left?
Yeah.
You know, casting the shadow?
Yeah.
Or is it just so happens that there's just like a big patch of cloud here?
Yeah,
but nothing
yeah.
there?
Yeah, it's so funny. I mean, like, you know, oh, this is, yeah. I don't think I'll comment on that. That definitely feels CG.
Yeah.
But, oh, he looks pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie. As, you know,
As a,
obviously this is
yeah.
CG'd. But, like, I do love my beasts,
Yeah.
you know? But
It is cool, yeah.
which is different. Okay, so I want to compare this with the House of the Dragon trailer. When we, I remember for one of the shots for Hot D, like we saw the dragon and we were commenting on how there's saliva, but it was sort of everything there. It was not symmetrical. It was sort of all his teeth was sort of like all different, like, you know, and like the saliva was like some were coming on as some were coming off, so it
Yeah.
made it feel like a bit more,
Like
you know,
realistic.
realistic, right? But when I look at this, like, I know this is just one shot. Don't you think it's like perfectly like framing his mouth? Yeah. But it's like stuff like that. I think like, you know, I mean, as no one's gonna really notice, but as like, you know, someone who's like, I'm like framing through this, you know, that's one thing I really appreciated about the Hot D trailer. It was
Yeah.
like when we focused on the dragon, there was all these details that, you know,
I
that
think,
sort of
yeah, that
add
just
up
made it
to make
too-
it feel
yeah.
a bit more realistic than compared to like this troll, right?
Yeah.
And how it moved and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, these are fine details that probably when you're watching it, you probably won't even notice.
Yeah.
But
And I mean, a lot of like we have to also consider that a lot of this, what we're seeing, isn't like finaled. Maybe because this is a final trailer, it's quite close. Like some of the
final.
stuff is quite
Yeah.
close, but I
Yeah.
think a lot of it is still being like worked on.
Yeah.
You know, like these days they like people work up to the last minute.
Yeah.
You know, with VFX.
Yeah.
So yeah, you'll literally be like finaling shots.
Yeah.
Like a week before the thing comes out.
Yeah.
And because it's episodic, you know, like you have time. So like they even cut into the part of the series too sometimes. So it's like, oh, it's like episode like 4, but you're still doing episode 7 stuff. You know? It's like you're trying to always like just like
push it a little bit more.
push the timeline a little bit. Oh yeah, let's like tweak all these little things to the very last minute.
But I mean, that's the kind of, you know, obviously the stuff that I said, it was like, you know, very anal, like we call it pixel fucking, right? Like but that's the sort of notes that, you know, you get when you work in the industry. And, you know, that's the sort of, you know, love that people, you know, and the hard work that people put in just to, you know, even a simple shot, like quick shot like that. That's the kind of stuff that, you know, we get told and we want to do in some ways to push that quality. And, you know, that's it might not seem like much, but it's, you know, it definitely takes a lot of work and a long time. So kudos to everybody who like worked on this, because, you know,
I mean, it looks pretty.
It looks great.
I think, you know, my whole dissatisfaction with this trailer is like almost entirely aimed towards the soundtrack. But then from there, I think like it would have felt so much nicer if they just put a different soundtrack, like a cinematic style, like, you know, kind of orchestrative kind of soundtrack. But the look, I think it's maybe like partially we're just so clinging to, like we're clinging to Lord of the Rings like as the go-to look for this whole franchise. But
that is highly possible.
But you know, like I could probably get into this look. It's just like, you know, I wish they would have done something more faithful to the original. But hey,
I'm not gonna lie,
times change.
I'm not gonna lie. I don't think because of the new, like, the look, which I didn't notice it as much in the last trailer.
It didn't.
So it might be the music.
Maybe the music just like exposed all the the other flaws.
It just made it feel like a bit more pop. Like, or just mainstream. I don't even know if that's the right word, but I think I definitely noticed it more, and I'm hoping that I'm still gonna give like a few episodes just to get into it, but I would watch it just solely because it's Lord of the Rings, just to see how it goes. But I'm not gonna lie, I do have, you know, I have doubts that I'm gonna like it. You know,
like, I mean, the dialogue didn't seem very like, it didn't seem very complex. If you compare it with like Hot D dialogue, like Hot D is like, you know, the whole thing is about the characters, right? So there's no like crazy, at least they're not going for these crazy epic battles and like these epic scenes. It's always like people in a room just talking to each other. Which is the best, because that's what you want, right? Like in a Game of Thrones style series, you just want the
character development,
the tension between characters and stuff. So the dialogue is everything, right? Like the dialogue is so good, and like the acting is so on point. For the whole series, up until the very end, the script kind of like, for Game of Thrones, the script kind of went sideways, but everything else was like amazing, right? So like this dialogue here just doesn't seem like it's on the same level.
But we'll see. Maybe they just didn't want to give away too much. You know, we did say that, you know, on our last trailer reaction with Nope, you know, they gave away too much.
They gave away way too much.
Maybe here they're like,
they're doing the opposite.
They're like, you know, I'm not.
I still don't know what the series is about. So that's a good thing. Like, I feel like I don't know anything about what's happening. Like, I can't even see like any linear progression and story. Like, I don't even know the plot for this. You know, like they just like,
it's about Galadriel.
It's just like, I have to take over. Like, they're trying to find the bad guys. I'm like, okay, that's that's it.
I still find it funny that you mentioned this before, where it was apparently there was a more badass version of Sauron, so Sauron's boss or some.
Sauron's boss. But I think actually it turns out that this is not about the like, that's even further back in time.
Okay.
And I think this is about, like, from the previous trailer, it sounded like it was about Sauron's like uprising or something.
Oh, okay.
Like him coming back into the picture or something like that. But I don't know.
It's just so funny how like they were stronger back then.
People just got weaker and weaker. You know, all those jokes.
Usually it's the other way around.
There's all those like, you know, there's jokes or like, you know, there's theories or whatever, like, oh yeah, like Lord of the Rings is a period piece, and then like it just slowly evolved to how we are now. And we just lost all that history. We're like so pathetic now compared to like before. They're like magic and like all this crazy stuff.
Oh, that's so funny. But yeah, as a trailer, I think I might give it a. I'll be honest, I'll give it a C.
Yeah, I mean, I think so too.
Yeah,
like maybe I'll even go, like I think I'll go like a C minus.
Oh,
yeah, that soundtrack.
Oh man. Oh wow.
Attribute it all to the soundtrack.
Shots fired.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see. Like, you know, it's coming. The show's coming out in a few days, so I'm still excited to watch. And plus, I have Prime, so I'm definitely gonna give it a try.
Yeah. But what would you like? Are you more excited for this than Hot D?
Oh no, I think now, like, I don't have any knowledge other than season 1 of Game of Thrones. Right? I think I mentioned this a few times on our podcasts.
Yeah.
And for some reason, I think maybe because of what people have been commenting on, like the frequency of like people commenting on our YouTube channel makes me think like there has to be something there if people are like
still into
still into it. And so I'm actually starting to sway a little bit to Hot D, especially after seeing this trailer. I was looking forward to this trailer
because this trailer makes me nervous, like because you know, I don't want to ruin that perfect like image of Lord of the Rings that I have. So yeah, but I almost have to go in just like knowing that I'm just gonna put this in its own little box. So it just doesn't you know, corrupt my pure experience of Lord of the Rings.
I mean, even like I remember The Hobbit, like I don't even associate like I think I erased part of the like me watching the movie.
Yeah, it's not canon to me anymore. It's just like
because even I remember there's this fight scene that was like Legolas against these wolves or something.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I think I remember that.
That's supposed to be like I used to love like part of why I loved Lord of the Rings was the Gimli Legolas sort of battles, but they have like one move, right? Like they have one section that's dedicated to like, you know, it's their hero part. And I always thought as a kid I was like, yo, that part's really cool, but it wasn't cheesy. It was just enough, then it moves away. And then there's also that character development between the two characters as well, right? How they became closer, even though they were two people that shouldn't be close
they
to
shouldn't be
other.
friends.
They shouldn't be friends.
Other, like, because of their race.
Exactly.
But that was a great, like that's a good example because I think in Lord of the Rings they put just enough, like you're saying, like it wasn't like, hey, look, there's like all these cool, they're doing all these cool moves. It's like, no, just one cool move per movie. That's it.
Like everybody has their moment, but it's just like this one part and that's it. And I remember in Hobbit, like they went through a whole fight scene with Legolas with a fake like sort of background. It was very CG'd. And I was just like, oh man, they killed Legolas for me.
Because like even that part where I remember very distinctly, maybe it was like I think it was in Two Towers when he gets on the horse, you know, that moment, the slow, like there's no fighting in that, but that was like just the most badass moment in the whole thing. Like, I remember people cheering in the cinema when he did that. People were just like screaming. They're like, oh my god,
it's
so cool. But that's a good example of like, you don't need to do all these crazy like killing wolf and like fighting like crazy. Just like have him do some crazy move to get on the horse,
and then that's it. You know? And even like, you know, I remember, like, I mean, Aragorn in I think it was Return of the King, or is it Two Towers, when he gets like dragged off. Or like no, he comes back and he like just breaks down the door. He's just like, you know, even that's just like, you know, he's got like these like little hero moments, which is cheesy. But because it's so contained and it's like that moment asked for it, and it's just like that's all you need. Whilst now I think like in The Hobbit they dragged it out, plus the CG stuff that was very obvious.
I don't know what, like how did it go from what I want to know is like how did filmmaking go from what it was like at that time to like what it is now, where it's just it's almost like what's the word, it's like an excess, it's like a gratuitous, you know, that's the word. It's like it feels gratuitous now, a lot of this stuff. It's just you're doing that for the sake of just looking cool and like but there's no substance to why you're doing it.
I think that part of it is like, I think it's planning. So I think like for Lord of the Rings, because was the first one, and like they had to save a lot, like in terms of like I think they had budgetary like restrictions, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So they had to really, figure out, like really plan it out or flesh it out more than The Hobbit, right? The Hobbit, like you had precedence with Lord of the Rings, so they're like, just throw money at it, right?
Yeah.
So I think firstly it's that, and then secondly I think they wanted to do what the audience wanted, and those moments in Lord of the Rings were what audience like they cheered for, right?
Yeah.
But that's the thing; it's almost like
they didn't.
You're giving them. Like you're giving the audience almost too much of it because you want to satisfy them so much that it's almost like you're giving them just a bit too much.
Yeah.
Whilst they only need a bit of sugar. You don't need to give them the whole like packet of Tim Tams or whatever.
Exactly. Right? And I feel like the audience didn't know that that's what they wanted.
Yeah.
It's like you gave them a little taste of something that they didn't even know that they wanted.
Yeah.
And then I think maybe afterwards in The Hobbit and in subsequent like just like shows in general, movies in general.
Yeah.
It's like people kind of come to expect that there's something cool happening.
Yeah.
So if you don't give them that, it's almost like, we didn't deliver like on the the crazy fight scene or experience that people were hoping to have.
Yeah.
But maybe it's the tone of the film as well. I think it contained everything. Like the Lord of the Rings trilogy felt like a much more serious and like it felt like they're very high stakes, so you didn't need to see any of these fighting scenes or anything to feel like you were going through some like adventure. And then when they did show you those things, it's like, oh wow, that's cool. Like it was like icing on the cake. But the cake itself, like
it was already great.
It didn't need that. Whereas like I think nowadays it's so gratuitous. There's no real cake, and it's just like 80% icing. And it's just like, well, I just ate a whole bunch of sugar without having like a get full. So
and I think it's also timing, right? With Lord of the Rings, I think at least from what I remember, I don't remember anything being that epic that in that scale. So that worked to their favor. With the whole army, like I don't remember seeing something quite like that. And with the whole music, with the orchestra and stuff, it made it seem like Jesus, like when they're lining out of Minas Tirith. It was like, oh my God, they're they're so screwed. Good. Like
that's a great example because I thought about this too in like Terminator 2. The beginning, like Terminator 1 was just like its own thing, right? In my head. Like it was a very contained movie. And then Terminator 2 at the beginning, they showed you just like, it's kind of like the battle scene at the beginning of Lord of the Rings. It showed you just enough of like the future that like your imagination just went crazy. You're like, oh man, like look at that, it's so cool. And then like for the rest of the film, none of that. So they gave you just enough to like, so you were like, oh man, this is cool, I'm invested, and you're watching it. And then you get into the story. Terminator 2 in my mind is like superior to Terminator 1. Because it was just like
they just gave you they teased you.
They teased you like you got a little bit of sugar, but then it was also so intense. This and the character development was so much better, I feel like, in the second one. But that's a good example. And then you went to like Terminator, like the rest of it, and it's just like fight. It's just like all future, all crazy, and it's just like you gotta sometimes you gotta rein it in. And
it's funny. It would be funny like if the reason why they only showed a bit of it, it's like, we only got enough budget to do
I think so. I think James Cameron just like blew the budget first 10 seconds.
So we totally went on a sidetracked. But let us know what you guys think, whether you like this trailer, whether you want to watch this show, or which one do you prefer, Hot D or Rings of Power? Let us know, because it'll be interesting to see what people think. So until next time, peace. Thanks again for watching our video. If you like what you saw, please comment, like, and subscribe. Any support would be greatly appreciated. Peace.